right, Niners faithful. So we finally lead a category in something other than torn ACLs. The most quarterbacks photoshopped into a Niners uniform. I'm Juju Talk Sports. This is Jose Corral, and we're going to be talking about the latest quarterback to come up in offseason rumors for the 49ers, Matthew Stafford, the longtime quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Jose, when I say Matthew Stafford's name, what do you think of? What is that signature Matthew Stafford moment?
I don't think of it as a moment. I think of it as a stat. And this always surprises me when people bring this up. Since he's been in the league, he's in the top 3 when it comes to fourth quarter comebacks. That always surprises me whenever somebody brings that up. And I think because the Lions, ever since he's been there, they haven't really played in, let's say, the biggest games. They haven't really made any big playoff runs. So you don't really kind of consider Matthew Stafford a big game type of guy. But if he's able to, lead the league in fourth quarter comebacks, I think that's something that I always kind of get taken back by from, is because you don't really think about it. And also kind of just his numbers in general. The guy has been an absolute tank when it comes to passing yards, passing touchdowns. Obviously, early on in his career, he had a lot of help with Calvin Johnson. But even after Calvin Johnson retired, he's actually been able to produce very, very well for a Detroit team that hasn't been able to, give him, the tools necessary to compete for even a division title there in the NFC North. So I think of just his stats. I don't think of any of the losing seasons in Detroit. I don't think of the couple of playoff visits that they had and they kind of just disappointed in the playoffs. I don't really think of that. I kind of just think of his stats and think of a top 10 type of quarterback, especially early on in his career. And even now he's around that area, top 10-ish, top 15. That's really what I think of with Matthew Stafford.
Well, when you say that, that brings on that narrative, Stat Padford, the whole nickname that's followed him around for years. I guess the main question when it comes to the Niners, is he better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and is he worth it compared to Jimmy Garoppolo?
Is he better than Jimmy Garoppolo? I will say by a little bit. I would not go out of the way and say, okay, he is miles better than Jimmy Garoppolo. No shot, no chance. Going into the future, I don't think a Matthew Stafford is beneficiary for the Niners. I don't think that's going to help. I don't think getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and bring in Matthew Stafford is something that you want for, the next few years, because Matthew Stafford, he was injured last season. We don't know how healthy he is even now, and he's not getting any younger. No quarterback is getting any younger, of course, but Jimmy Garoppolo has age on him. He's had, more recent success. So I don't think bringing in Matthew Stafford will necessarily elevate the quarterback position that much as people really think.
I think my concern is, have we even seen the best of Jimmy Garoppolo make that claim that we don't think that he can be the franchise quarterback for the Niners moving forward? And I feel now we've hit this point of no return, where it seems as though everyone's talked about the possibility of Jimmy being gone, to the point where it just seems like reality. It seems like an inevitability moving forward for the Niners. And that leaves me to evaluate the quarterbacks that are left out there. Well, that is Matthew Stafford. That is Deshaun. That is some of the guys in the draft, whether it be Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. And you would say, when it comes to those quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford makes the most sense from this standpoint. He's probably going to be the cheapest out of them. Deshaun's going to be multiple first-round picks. Matthew Stafford, what is that trade value? A first-round pick, and Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. What do you think Matthew Stafford is worth at this point in his career, given his lack of playoff success and given that he's just been Stat Padford for his entire career?
If you're going to give the Detroit Lions 2 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford, just give up on the next 5 years at this point, because obviously you're just playing for the future. As much as I love Matthew Stafford, and a lot of people around the league really do love him, you're not going to send 2 first-round picks for him. Now, maybe a first-round pick and Jimmy Garoppolo, I still think that's too much. I think if you're going to send Detroit a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't need to send him a first, because you're basically swapping player for player. A second-round pick would suffice. And it's also the Detroit Lions, so you could work your way around it and be like, okay, here, Detroit, this is a good trade package, and they'll just be like, okay, yeah, we're down. Just because that's the way that it seems like they've been able to, they've maneuvered all of their trades. Whenever they get rid of players, they kind of just always settle for cheap. And if you're going to give away 2 first rounds, I mean, you don't need to with Detroit. But I think anything more than Jimmy Garoppolo plus any round draft pick, it's too much for me. I think that would be way too much. And you also mentioned some of the other quarterback scenarios. I think the only one that actually improves the quarterback situation in San Francisco would be Deshaun Watson. But that's, as the days go by, that seems less likely and less likely that he's going to end up with the 49ers. Other than that, I think the quarterback situation that you have right now with Jimmy Garoppolo is better than any other alternative.
Yeah, I agree. I think that as much as I would love to see the Niners' success continue, I think it can continue with Jimmy. I think we just got to let it develop. I think we should invest on our interior offensive line, on our outside cornerback, on the areas of weakness that prevented this team from winning the Super Bowl. Because when you think back to the Super Bowl, yes, Jimmy struggled in that fourth quarter, but it's because Chris Jones just took over the moment. He was beating everyone on the inside. And Weston Richburg, obviously, that contract's going to waste. On the outside, Richard Sherman showed his age in the Super Bowl, and we were getting beat by those fast playmaking wide receivers that the Chiefs have. So we need to get younger, we need to get cheaper, and we need to be more efficient in those areas in order for this team to win. And again, Jimmy has shown that he can win at bare minimum. And I agree with what you said. It needs to be a tangible improvement. And I think, like you said, Deshaun is the only one that would kind of fit that mold. You don't want to run it back with a rookie. I know that Kyle has job security for the next 5 years or 6 years or 8 years, whatever his extension brings him to. But I know that he wants to win now. This team needs to win now because their best players are getting more and more expensive. Fred Warner is going to be up for a contract this year. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. We just paid Kittle. Nick Bosa, 2 years down the line, is going to want a big-time deal. You got to win before those guys get paid. And I know it's tough because Jimmy Garoppolo's contract seems like more of an albatross now than it ever did. But I wouldn't be surprised if you told me in a couple of years or even a year down the line, Jimmy Garoppolo, who was the quarterback that he was also in the locker room with in New England? You know, a guy that was willing to take pay cuts, make things move around. He wanted to get paid on this first initial contract. He was a backup for many years, second round pick. He wasn't getting paid the most. But if you told me on his next contract, he gave the Niners more of a sweetheart deal, maybe I'm being optimistic. But I think that that's an opportunity for the Niners. Any last thoughts on that, Jose?
Yeah, and you mentioned, the price tag. Matthew Stafford isn't cheap. He's going to be owed around $27 million next year. So the guy isn't cheap. Wherever he's going to end up, they're still going to have to pay quite a bit of money for him. So that brings another reason as to, and I honestly think John Lynch is not really going to approach this at all. I don't think they believe, the Niners organization believe that Matthew Stafford would be that much of an improvement where you would have to send away future assets for the team, and having in return have to pay another quarterback. You know what I mean?
So and it's going to get harder too when you consider that more teams are jumping into that race by the day.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, yeah. Each team that needs a quarterback is going to look at a Matthew Stafford and be like, "That's our guy." And other than Jacksonville, because they'll have Trevor Lawrence. The Jets, the Jets might be front runners for Deshaun Watson, but even if that doesn't work out, maybe the Dolphins want to make a move for him. Send Tua out of there. The Colts, I think out of all the teams, the Colts make too much sense. If the Colts don't make a move for Matthew Stafford, I don't know what they're doing. Indianapolis would be the perfect spot for Matthew Stafford.
Well, I think if we send 5 guys from our roster that are willing to bite a kneecap, Dan Campbell and the Lions will take it. Anyway, Niners faithful, let us know what you think in the comments. We're no Stafford. It sounds like that's the general consensus from this pod. So let us know what you think in the comments below. If you're pro Stafford, no Stafford, leave a like on this video. And of course, subscribe to our channel. There's 49 reasons to listen, but there's unlimited reasons to subscribe. We'll see you next time.